Good morning. If I can have everybody have their seats, we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a jam-packed full agenda for you this morning. So again, thank you for being here, and I know that we're waiting for a few others, but we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Terry Kimball, I'm President and CEO here at the Chandler Chamber, and I'm just going to start this off. I know I'm not on your agenda, but I just want to thank you for being here. Education and workforce is critical here in Chandler, as well as our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And I just wanted to kind of tee this up. This is the first time that our DE&I group and our Education and Workforce Committee have really joined forces to talk about this subject. And I think we're just scratching the surface on this. And I know that this will be a deeper dive as we continue these conversations. So I just wanted to let you know that. I would also like to introduce our council members that are in the room with us here today. Vice Mayor Orlando. Matt Orlando, Vice Mayor Orlando has been on our Education and Workforce Committee, and he is actually transitioning into his new role as Vice Mayor, and Council Member Angel Encinas will be taking his place on that committee. So Council Member Encinas as well. And thank you for your leadership on that committee. That's been incredibly valuable. We also have with us today Council Member Christine Ellis here, as well as Council Member Jane Poston. She was a former board chair, so she knows how important, and she's been also helping drive this bus for many years. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Katrina Ward. I'm going to have Katrina come up here. I am all about promoting our young, and Katrina started with us several years ago as an intern when she was at NAU. And so we have all parts of the state covered, but then she went and studied abroad, and then we brought her back again as an intern, and now she is full-time on staff. So I love giving them these opportunities. So I'm going to turn the mic over to her, and she's in charge today. So let's give Katrina a round of applause.
Thank you, Terry, for the introduction. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us this morning. So the panel topic for today will be focusing on breaking barriers within career and technical education. This event would not be possible without our sponsors. So thank you to Intel, Arizona State University, SRP, Wells Fargo, Toyota Financial Services, Nova Home Loans, and Comfort Systems USA for your support. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right on in. So to start off today, we will first be hearing from our Education and Workforce co-chair, Dr. Craig Gilbert. He's the Assistant Superintendent for Pre-K through 12 Educational Services at Chandler Unified School District. Dr. Gilbert has served the Chandler community throughout CUSD. After completing his undergrad degree at the University of Arizona, Dr. Gilbert came to CUSD first as an educator and coach, then as vice principal at Hamilton High School, then principal at Payne Junior High, and is currently an assistant superintendent at the district level. And he has also completed his master's degree in educational administration from the University of Phoenix, as well as his doctorate of education and leadership from ASU. And Dr. Gilbert has been responsible for the supervision of 7 junior high schools, 6 high schools, 2 alternative schools, and 1 online school, totaling over 24,000 students. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Gilbert.
Good morning, everyone. So I've been a part of the Education Workforce Committee for many years. I was just having a conversation. I think it's about 8 years now. Our committee consists of higher education, K-12 is represented, city leadership, as well as industry. And it's this group that comes together to focus on how do we connect education and workforce to understand and develop ways to address the needs that workforce has in developing partnerships. So every year we get together earlier in the year so that we can determine what programs, and it's usually 4 programs that we spread out throughout the year to determine what is it that we want to bring to the business community in Chandler to have conversations, whether it's a roundtable, whether it's a panel, so that we can bring information to them and see what kind of partnerships that we can bring, whether it's with K-12, whether it's with community college, whether it's with the universities. What is the business looking for? I'm really excited that today we're talking about career and technical education, or sometimes you'll hear it CTE, because it's for every student. It's for any student that is in our schools, in the college, in the community college, in the university. And what we're focused on is CTE is an educational model that aligns secondary and post-secondary education to labor market demands and provides students with the technical, academic, and employable knowledge and skills they need to be successful. We're educating them to look at the careers and understand that they have options. Now, sometimes we hear career and technical education. I think a lot of people don't understand what that entails. It's quite a bit. Whether you're in a high school taking CTE classes in 9-12, whether you're at EVID, was East Valley Technology, whether you're there and looking at the robust programs they have, or it's something that's either in the community college or the university, you can get career tech in all of those areas. And just to share kind of some of those programs, you have agri-science, automotive technologies, cabinet making, culinary arts, digital photography, drone operator, education professions, fashion design, marketing, gaming design, 3D animation, graphic design, marketing, cybersecurity. You look at, for example, what EVID offers, and they have some of the big programs because of some of the equipment that they have there: collision repair, construction technology, cosmetology, dental assistant, diesel technology, fire and emergency sciences, HVAC, pharmacy tech, plumbing services. So when you listen to that, you see that it encompasses a lot of different fields that are out there as it relates to career and technology. So I'm really excited that you're going to be able to listen to this really deep panel of that can share information with you that really goes from looking at what happens in the K-12 space to what does it look like from the post secondary to industry. And that was the importance of what was being brought with you today. So again, thank you for being here, and welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert, for sharing with us a little bit about what our Education and Workforce Committee does, as well as sharing with us a little bit more about career and technical education. So next up, I would like to introduce Tyler Conway. He is our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion co-chair, and he is also a senior manager at PayPal within Global Enterprise Risk Management. Tyler's professional focus lies in financial, credit, and fraud risk management, where he has worked for over 16 years. Tyler is also a leader within the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. Tyler's accomplishments include building and leading PayPal Pride, an employee resource group which serves PayPal's LGBT+ employees around the world. And Tyler's passion for inclusivity and seeing opportunities for all to thrive is reflected in his leadership within both the business community and within the city of Chandler. So let's give a hand for Tyler Conway.
Great. So we wanted to share a little bit first about what our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee does. For those of you who have attended some of our other events, we put on a lot of informational seminars around the importance of diverse workforces, the importance of providing resources so everyone can thrive, how we measure inclusive workspaces. Really, the Chamber has put a lot of emphasis into this and really kind of made it part of its DNA. We get to help with that programming, and we get to look for opportunities to collaborate. Part of our collaboration emphasis today brings us together with our career workforce group, really jumping into why we have this intersection here. As we study workplace inclusivity, access to resources, all of these little elements that sit within this bigger discussion around diversity, equity, and inclusion, it was very, very clear the nexus of career, education, and how successful and how much influence you can have, regardless of your background. That is the key to having, access in America, is having access to those jobs, and that begins with education. So the earlier we give resources, the more access we have to those resources, we find that we create a more stable community. We find that we create a workforce that can absorb everyone. And that is really kind of at the heart of what we're doing. So a lot of the programming today really comes out of this intersection between recognizing how we break barriers, how we see the potential in everyone, and tap untapped areas of potential in our community. And that really begins early, and it begins with creating career paths for people, creating connections to their natural talents, and making sure that they can see themselves and people like them thrive in this community. So really a privilege to get to work with our career technical education professionals that we'll introduce here today. But really, this is a topic that I hope everyone has a lot of passion in, because it needs a lot of assistance. It needs more people to be its champion. It needs more people to be aware of all the programs that are out there and just how important that is to individual self-esteem, their prospects in life, and really their earnings potential down the road. So thank you all. And with that, we'll hop right in and get ready for our panelist discussion today. So I have the opportunity today to introduce some amazing panelists. First, we have Nitasha Chopra. Nitasha is the Senior Director of the Edge Execution Office at Intel, and she also serves on our committee. Wonderful. We also have Lindsay Duran, the Director of Career and Technical Education at Chandler Unified School District. Dr. Daniel Frank, Assistant Teaching Professor at the Arizona State University Polytechnic Campus at the School of Engineering. Devon, Mahon, student intern and coordinator at the City of Chandler, Maricopa County Community College. And we have Dr. Betty Parasek, Program Director for General Nursing Health and Division at the University of Arizona, and Gabriella Rosu, the Dean and Instructional at Chandler Gilbert Community College. All right, panelists, looking forward. Thank you guys.
It's like musical chairs.
There we go. All right, great. So we'll hop into our questions. And I'll start off with Nitasha and Gabriella. I know there's a partnership program. We've seen this out at a lot of our cultural fairs. We've seen them out in public with Intel and Chandler Gilbert Community College. Can you explain to us a little more what that program looks like? What are the benefits of this program from an employer side and educator side?
Sure. All right. Thank you. First of all, thank you for being here. Thank you, Tyler, for the great introduction. I'm a very loud person. I can use this. So, we're talking about what are some of the programs that we have in the community. I think as a technologist, I understand the value of education at a early part of your career, whether it's K-12 universities or even community colleges. And Intel today is invested across Maricopa community colleges in two separate initiatives. One's the Quick Start program for the workforce, is exactly what it says, Quick Start. It allows anyone to take part in a 2-week program that allows you to become a semiconductor technician. And there's so much opportunity in that space, and there's so much demand. We actually need a workforce to sustain, the fabs just a few miles from here in Ocotillo. We have 2 new fabs that are coming up that are going to bring, close to 15,000 jobs directly and indirectly into the economy. And we need those technicians and those workforce, that's ready to help us build those products. So it's coming from need, it's coming from demand, and it's very practical for us to accelerate and, partner with our local community, our local colleges to build those programs. The second one, which I think is, as a software engineer by profession, I'm very passionate about, is artificial intelligence. For those who don't know what artificial intelligence is, it's everywhere. It's running our life right now. There's so much data being produced, data you produce on your phones, data you share, your banks, your local communities, your companies, Facebook. You name anything you interact with today, it's all producing data. And being able to use that data intelligently, like a human would, to make decisions is what artificial intelligence is about. So you can imagine with the billions and billions of data we produce every day, the need for analysts, the need for technologists, business analysts, software engineers, architects, security architects that can take that data and convert it into intelligence that can then be used by businesses to drive more revenue, make a difference to their customers and drive growth is what artificial intelligence is all about. And we have a program that builds an associate degree that allows you to take an associate degree in artificial intelligence and machine learning, which literally means any intelligence that would require a human. You were building computer systems. We're allowing people, after high school to enroll in programs that they can build those computer systems and really get some high-paying, high-tech, very in-demand roles, jobs, and opportunities in a very short time frame, and allows them, to take that opportunity further, as they think about alternate careers, that emerge from AI. So I know those are the two big programs that we're partnering on. Anything else?
That's true. Oh. Yeah, I want to. Good morning. Thank you for being here so early and no coffee. That is true, Nitasha. Intel and Chandler, Maricopa Community College's partner as, in my opinion, industry and higher education should partner. Because as you see, industry moves fast and higher education is trying to keep up with it. And then 20 years later, we come up with some type of programs. So the partnership, when Charlie Gilbert and Maricopa created the artificial intelligence first at the table, is how we brainstorm to move in the same direction at the same time. And what are the pathways for the student? So artificial intelligence was the logic, the next step that we partnered and created also with merge the AI for workforce. The quick start, so the artificial intelligence program, the pathways, gives the student a associate degree. They can go on a pathways. Currently, hopefully, we're working on a bachelor's degree for artificial intelligence at Chandler Gilbert. But also, as Nitasha said, the quick start, that gives the workforce, it's bridging the equity gap in a workforce. There are over 30 million jobs in the United States that needs to pay over $55,000 with no, you don't need to have a college degree. It's with your quick start. So students going through the semiconductor technician course, it's a 2 weeks training that Intel and Chandler Gilbert Maricopa stand at the table and map the outcomes of what that course should be, what they should learn, and what is they're ready to be in the industry the next day to get a job. We have placements, the program, it's amazing. It should be the model across the United States because students, once we have a coach, and Max is amazing, that they are taking the students as they enter, they take an assessment, they go into the 2 weeks course. And by the time they finish the course, they just don't learn the skills, but they learn also what I call the social and emotional skills. Like I'm gonna prep for an interview. So they do that 40 hours, 2 weeks straight, and they will have in combined efforts with Maricopa and the industry partners, a career fair. So students get a job right away. We have over 98% of students getting jobs. And the reason I say that is because their students say, even though I took the class, I'm not ready to get a job. So the first course, the first class of the quick start in semiconductor, we piloted, it was all women to see what is that, how that's gonna work. It's something that is new. I grew up in a different culture, and for me, knowledge and education opened the doors to everything. It's beyond the sky, just think, what is the universe? So this is what we encourage the students. This is what you can do with the 2 weeks. Imagine what you can do when you're in an industry and then build your career. I'm going to stop talking.
Thank you. Lindsay and Devon. So internships are very important. They're opportunities for students to gain practical experience, also maybe sample the career field they're going into to make sure it's something they want to commit to. Can you both speak briefly about the internship programs that are available and out there?
Good morning. So in CUSD, we do offer internships for students that are in their senior year. And the reason why we say senior year is we want them to have completed their CTE program. So that way they have gained the technical knowledge in their classes, and then they can go into the internships to utilize that knowledge in the real world. Now, with CUSD, we started it just before COVID. So it was a little bit of a struggle to get it off of the ground, and we're still continuing to build it. But prior to internships, and some of you that have been in
city of Chandler for some time might be aware of the term called cooperative education. So that was, I can tell you, I was a co-op student in high school myself in the CTE program way back when. And it was really seen at the business level classes. And a lot of students would be in the co-op classes, they'd learn the business skills, they'd then go in and be a receptionist or be in the marketing type thing. Well, we found out that co-op kind of faded away because we needed to change with what the time was changing, thus bringing on internships.
Thank you for having me. I have an exciting position where I am both an employee of Chandler Gilbert Community College and the city of Chandler. And so in my role, I'm a bridge with this partnership that we've created to align work-based experiences that we have here at the city to the academic programs that we're offering at the college. I really appreciate that Dr. Gilbert said that internships are for all students. Before I jumped into this role, I was an academic advisor for the Maricopa Community Colleges. I was there for 7 years. 5 of those years were specifically at Chandler Gilbert. And though I would advise on any and all majors, I was the lead advisor for all the business, entrepreneurialism, and management students, so any business type major. And then I was also the advisor for culture and society field of interest. So this was world languages, humanities, social sciences. So we have 9 fields of interest. And what we did is we took every academic program and placed it into one of these 9 categories so that we could really help create an experience for students that connected them to faculty, staff, and students that shared interest of theirs and help them find their path and help them stay on the path. So with this role where I'm a shared employee of the city and the college, I was able to go around and interview all of the different departments at the city of Chandler to try to find where could we have an intern, where is there a need, and where can I provide an experience for a student to help them determine if they are on the right career path or to help connect them to the right career path. So what I really enjoyed about my role was getting to go around to all of these departments, figure out what it is that they do, and then create this pilot program. We started with 10 internships, and we wanted to have it reach out to as many majors as possible. So I created internships ranging from the cultural development department, where a student could work with art installation, exhibits, and collections with the Chandler Museum or the Vision Gallery, down to social media marketing with community services or neighborhood resources, work in the records division. So really just trying to span all 9 fields of interest. And every semester, we're going to try and grow the program. So I know this semester I was starting with 10 areas. Next semester, I may try to jump to 20 areas. And in my role in career services at the college, we're able to provide students with that professional development, interview techniques, resume writing skills, cover letters. And I mentioned being a bridge. I'll be a liaison and a support system for these students. So as they have their supervisor at the city, providing them constructive feedback and helping them set goals, I will also be checking in, supporting these interns and helping them tie it back to what they are studying at the college, just to make this well-rounded experience for them.
Thank you for that. I think as a parallel to internships, which are more structured roles, right? You're doing tasks, you've got specific jobs. There's really an importance of having that career advisor role model, which I think we translate now into mentorships. So Dr. Frank and Dr. Parasek, can you both briefly talk about mentoring opportunities universities have for their students?
Sure. So my name is Betty Parasek. I'm the program director for the BSN IH program. We are currently housed in Gilbert. We are the first, as far as I know, the first baccalaureate in nursing program with a focus on integrative health. So from that perspective, mentoring is a very important part of what we do. Nursing, so I'm the nurse on the panel, and nursing is not a singular endeavor, if you will. It is very much a community approach. And those of you who have been involved in healthcare or been a patient or had someone you love in the hospital recognize the importance of a team of healthcare providers. So we start our program from that perspective. We teach our students resilience or encourage resilience through a community setting. So teaching them that it's okay to work together. So you would think mentors just at the university level might include faculty, but it very much includes each other. So we want peer mentors. We encourage peer mentorships. We encourage them to connect. And then the other mentorships that, again, you might not think of as mentorships involve the hospitals and our clinical partners. We have clinicals at Chandler Regional. We have clinicals at a number of agencies or healthcare providers throughout the Valley. And each and every healthcare provider that connects with a student acts as a mentor. So if that makes sense to you. And the interesting thing is sometimes those nurses or those healthcare providers are having a hard day, right? You all know how hard the pandemic was and how hard it was on healthcare providers as well. So our students can sometimes offer little bits of integrative wellness modalities, if you will, to those they work with in the hospital. But each and every provider is a mentor. So it's a community of mentorship in the nursing program. And I dare say that would be for any health education anywhere. It's the same.
Hello, everybody. So thank you for having me here. So when I think of mentorship and I think of the students I work with at ASU, the first thing that comes to mind is the opportunities that I try to foster with them at the community level. So when I first moved out here about 5 years ago, even before I started working at ASU, I got invited to be part of this foundation called the Cisa Foundation, which is a community organization. We now have a 5,200 square foot maker space for the community that's just off of Arizona and Elliott. And when I first got on board, they said, "Hey, how would you like to coach 2 robotics teams? We noticed that you've had experience, winning world championships when we were back in Florida. So why don't you come help us?" And there was 2 teams. There was an all women's college team that they wanted to start up, and then there was an all girls high school team that they had already had in existence. And so I said, sure. So almost like the second or third week of me teaching at ASU, I started recruiting students. I said, I teach primarily freshmen, right? So a lot of students I had, that was their first experience with engineering. And so I said, hey, how would you like to build a submarine with us? Don't require any experience. I had never built a submarine either. He said, we're all going to learn together and it'll be fine. Because they're a little bit apprehensive, like, oh, I don't know. I'm going from, just learning about engineering to building a submarine. It's kind of a big jump. No, it'll be fine. And so what we did is, we worked together and we, developed the simplest submarine we could, right? And these are all freshman ASU students, all women, many who have no engineering experience before. And by the end of 2 semesters, they are ready to go to their first competition out in San Diego. It's in the middle of the summer, and it's international. There's about 50-something teams there, and they take 3rd place.
Oh, wow.
Woo. And it was funny because, when you first get to the competition, you're the quote unquote all girls team, no one's really expecting a whole lot out of you. Not only that, but you're also the team from Arizona out in the middle of the desert. What do you all know about submarines? And then factor in, it's also they're freshmen. These are all brand new students to engineering, right? So there's layers of people, not, taking them seriously. And then let me tell you, when it came to the finals, right, and their robot was performing extremely well, the conversations changed. When the teams came over to talk to our students, it wasn't like, oh, good luck, if you need any help, we'll be happy to help you. It's like, what are y'all doing? How does your robot work? How do you get to do that? They were asking them, because they were, afraid to lose them, right? And so we changed that narrative, right? And so that experience, I then, encouraged those students to go into the community and bring that to them as well, right? And so I said, hey, how would you like to also work with these high school students, right? They need relatable and accessible role models. right? How would you like to, inspire the next generation of STEM leaders? And again, they were a little bit apprehensive, like, well, I'm just learning engineering. Like, what can I, bring to the table to teach these high school students? And then I said, don't worry about it. And so we introduced each other, and it was, I think, eye-opening for them because, interacting with these like new students, freshmen, sophomores in high school, I don't think they realized how much they had learned in that year, right? And so it built up that confidence, like, oh my gosh, I have come a long way. And like, I actually am able to contribute to this, right? And so mentorship is a two-way street. And we've had a cohort that, freshman engineering students from ASU and freshman high school students from Chandler and Hamilton, right? They have worked together for the past 4 years, right? And so now we have our first cohort that's going from high school student freshmen to now ASU student freshmen, right? And then they're building that scaffold. And I encourage the high school students, hey, we've got these middle school students. They look up to you, right? And that's kind of eye-opening for them. They don't realize that, but yeah, the younger students, they see these people as like superheroes, like, oh my gosh, you just got third place in the world, like how incredible is that? And so it's a wonderful thing. And I try to, tell my students, pay it forward. You've been given opportunities, you've been blessed, right? Let's help the next group, right? And by doing that, we're slowly starting to build up that community, right? And that's how you affect, big change. We're talking about breaking barriers. Breaking barriers is hard, right? You can't do it overnight. It takes investment, it takes time, it takes money, right? But that's what we're trying to do by creating, this community where we support each other, right? That can inspire each other and can, just be the role models that we need in the community, right? We're able to slowly start to chip away. And so that's what I try to inspire my students at ASU is, you have the ability to make that change. If you don't like the way you don't like the way the field looks right now, change it.
So I think with a lot of the programs that we've talked about, pretty good buy-in from our community on the importance of career and technical education. And I think what we want to do, given we have so many policymakers and influencers here, whether it's school board or council, part of our city, really start to get into some of the logistics of the programs and where it's more effective to start these supports. So next question is really about, at what age are students beginning to learn about CTE now? And what is that ideal age we should be targeting? And this is for anyone. Okay, folks.
I think we start in the United States, they start in 9th grade. However, even though we had K to 12 programs, we're not doing a good job of starting at K to 9. We're doing a great job from 9 to 12 and not K to 9. So that's when they start because as we talk, CTE is not just about skill-based, it's from engineering to aerospace to just name it, dance and photography. So this is what I think there's a great opportunity for us as educators and businesses to come together and to piggyback on the mentorship. This is part of how we train the students as they young to make changes. When we build it with Intel, the artificial intelligence, we build a class of students must have a mentor and complete a real life project before they graduate. On the flip coin, we are meeting with another company that says we have 200 years of knowledge walking out the door in the next 2 years. How are we going to replace that? That is called mentorship. And this is where the opportunity for the CTE to introduce them more strongly from the K to 9, not just 9 to 12. But that's what I'm seeing.
Thank you.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I'm just thinking education needs to be relevant, right? If it's not relevant and has no meaning, then you have children that grow up and say, well, I'm never going to use this. So I think starting earlier rather than later, exploring the options of how children can use as adults what they're learning is really important. We call it flipping the classroom, right? Making it relevant, that clinical reasoning, that critical thinking, so that our students know that the world is full of possibilities. And my grandchildren wear my nurse's uniform all the time, right? And they use those stethoscopes, and that's what I tell them.
So yes, I would agree. For a long time, the career exploration started in high school, but we're starting to really see this shift. In fact, we're shifting in Chandler. If you haven't heard, Portrait of a Learner aligns perfectly with career exploration. And in fact, Arizona Department of Ed has recently released our career literacy standards, which are K-12. So I have two wonderful instructional program specialists here, Lisa and Alicia. Wave at everyone. In Chandler, we really value CTE. They've provided me with two instructional specialists so that we can really deep dive into what career exploration can look like, not just at the high school level, but also K-12. And so my team has taken the Portrait of a Learner and aligned them to the career literacy standards that are K-12. We also are looking at what the career exploration looks like, because really, like you mentioned, that it needs to be lower, not just in high school. We need to get them in the pathway of where they can get to in the long run, and then that means earlier on. So we are looking at the career exploration at as low as 5th grade, because CTE funding can help that 5th through 12th grade. So that's my focus in my department, but I know our district as a whole, with our curriculum department, we are looking at the career literacy standards and we are applying them in our classrooms. You're going to see them when my high school kids go down to the junior high and go into even the elementary level. So my agri-science program, as part of FFA, they have to do that. They have to do that outreach. So they're going down and they're working at the elementary levels with the platonics, and they're talking to the students about what that looks like and how they can see it and what that could mean in their future. So we're starting that in Chandler. It is a great combination with our Portrait of a Learner, as well as with our career literacy standards. In addition, we're required to teach work-based learning standards in CTE programs. And that's everything from resume building to interview skills to really knowing what those first skills are when they take that first job.
Tyler, I'm gonna share something.
Absolutely.
Get your steps in today.
Exactly.
I have no experience as an educator, clearly, but as a technologist, and I have two children. I have two boys who are 2nd grade and 3rd grade. They attend Chandler School District. And what I can tell you, Academy, a big shout out to those guys, just do a phenomenal job. What I can tell you, like, I think I have two boys, but there's data out there that says by the time girls, reach 8 years of age, they have this lack of confidence in their ability to tackle STEM education. So I love that our focus, and I mean, I was a part of the system that very much encouraged me back when I went to college a long time ago. It was in the university. There was encouragement and support and mentorship and guidance. And today is shifting to high schools and starting middle school. But really, I think it's all our collective responsibility as a community to spark the interest in technology, in careers and options, and what in our household we call engineering magic or science. And frankly, that's how I made my children listen to me. They had their Legos, we sat down and, I connected some batteries, added some power, wrote a little program, hit enter. It's like a kit you can buy. And I was like, I made your Legos move. And they were like, whatever she says, we'll go pick up our clothes now, do that again. But it became this magic thing. And I started using it all across the house, very selfishly, to just make them listen to me, like how I turn lights off. There's an app on my phone and I'm like, lights off. And they're like, oh no. So I think this magic of curiosity, and of course, they're very interested in it because they see their mom doing it, they go to their schools talking about mentoring each other. They tell their friends, my mom knows how to do magic. And the kids are like, no, it's probably an app. So they're encouraged appreciating each other and supporting each other. You know, they have friends who are girls and they very much are like, oh, I have this friend who really loves Legos. Can we have them over? So I know that there is curiosity. We're talking about breaking barriers, but I think it needs to start at a much younger level. And I know CUSD does a phenomenal job with all their, like, the basics learnings in the second and the third grade. My kids have gone to CUSD since kinder. I'm always amazed and impressed by the little ways in which they're sort of sparking that curiosity and that interest in technology and science and magic. So, you know, I just wanted to add that very personal touch to why it can make such a difference. And I think if we start that young, we're not going to lose interest in it overnight. But if you start late, then you're pushing it. And as parents, we know what happens when you push. You know, it doesn't work. Thank you.
What else on this one? Okay, perfect. I think we've got a lot of folks here who are not just dipping their toes in the water for the first time on this panel that we've curated that have been in this for a while. Give us a little background on what the major advancements you're seeing in like CTE programming have been. Okay, let's start.
I think we all will go first. We know all the time. So CTE advancement, we're seeing a lot like cybersecurity, right? Cybersecurity is everyone needs, everything can be hacked. That's one of our programs that we are seeing a big advancement in because it's constantly changing. We have to keep up with industry. We're also seeing it in healthcare. And we have a CNA program at 2 of our high schools, which we also do clinicals with as well. So I forgot to mention that during the internship type question, because that definitely is part of that. So we're seeing advancement in that area. And then just being willing to change with the time, taking in what the industry around us and our community is doing, and being able to take in the information and looking at our own programs internally to see what we need to look at and what we need to address. So part of career and technical education, we're required, and it's perfect because it makes it easy for me to say you have to do this, but we have to have advisory committees. And as part of an advisory committee, every single one of our programs, and we have 20 programs in CUSD with 85 high school teachers, they all have to offer an advisory at least once a year. And that's when we ask our partners to come in and look at our standards. Look at how we're teaching, look at our equipment that we need, and ask for recommendations on how we need to do better to improve and prepare our students for the industry.
Thank you. I think what we see too over the years is bridging the gap of awareness. CTE programs that we've seen, and again, I grew up in a different country. However, you've seen in the United States like a different approach to CTE. So bridging the gap into the knowledge what CTE can offer to the students and what the opportunities are to the students. I think this overcome over the years, not what used to be in the 1960s or 70s or even the 80s, because there's great opportunity with CTE to give the students, again, by the time you have 200 years walking out the door in a company, you bring in those students up and you bring that generation of having that knowledge of what opportunities in the CTE are. And I will tell you from the business perspective, students are seeing the aspect that, hey, I can start here, and even when finishing my high school and getting like even a quick start or a certificate, then I continue my education, my employer pays for it. But the job pay rate, it's so much higher than somebody even with a bachelor's degree. So we have to look at what are the opportunities in CTE are and what it became over the years. And one thing I'm going to say, I think we're catching up to Europe because they are very progressive in terms of the CTE and bringing the kids young as kindergarten and how you build that mentorship and that co-op, what we call, but it's called mentorship from kindergarten. You bring them all the way up to college.
Thank you. In terms of technology advancement in healthcare education, the pandemic really brought that to the forefront because we trained our students virtually for a semester and a half, and we were turned on our heads in so doing. but we have seen major advancements in the technology training in terms of simulators. So we train nurses the way pilots are trained with simulators, with mannequins that can do things that we only dreamed of 5 years ago, and also the augmented and mixed reality. So our students are exposed to a lot of different technologies, and that helps them when they go into the clinical environment or the healthcare environment, because there is so much technology there. And everything is changing. So a piece of equipment that you used last week may be entirely different this week when you go. So we embrace the opportunity for these advances because it helps us educate better.
Thank you. All right. So I think as we talk about career and technical education advancements, we look at what we're trying to push and maybe where we're trying to steer students in terms of, careers that are up and coming, development demanding. What are we seeing right now for those working in this field? What are the demand areas that you're seeing from the students that are in the CT programs? What are the hot areas, or what are the students focused on?
That would be healthcare. We had I can't even say how many nurses were so tired at the end of the pandemic, and we recognize the need to train the next generation of nurses and healthcare workers to take care of me and those I love, right? I mean, please forgive me, but I joke with my students sometimes, we're not selling car insurance here.
That's right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. And I always preface it like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But we are teaching students to care for folks at their most vulnerable times, right? It doesn't, it's an art. Nursing and healthcare is an art. And so truly, I think that is where the future lies, because there are so many people who will need healthcare in the future, and just teaching and training students who will stay, who won't be burned out the first time they care for someone at the end of life, or have a circumstance that doesn't turn out the way they expect. Building that resilience. Without the resilience, we won't have a healthcare workforce that can maintain the standards that we will need and the passion that we need, because truly healthcare is an art.
I do agree that healthcare is at the top of the chart. We do need that, but also we need what do we see now in the CTE? The medical needs, but also the data analytics, also your technicians that goes into the semiconductor and all the other skills. Another huge skill that we see shifted in, and again, not because Chandler Gilbert is on the aviation program, is in aviation maintenance. There is a gap. When I said the 200 years of workforce and knowledge walking out the door, that's where the industry is losing it. So the aerospace industry is losing a lot of the pilots and especially the mechanics. They are retiring, and there was no pipeline of industry acknowledging that over the years to say we're going to build that when it comes.
Thank you.
So one thing to keep in mind is the generations are kind of changing, right? So I think of my father, he would have stayed in the same career path for 40 years, wouldn't have gone a different way. Our students are no longer that way. They are not loyal. I shouldn't say loyal, but they're loyal to themselves and their family, but they're not they're not going to say, I'm going to stay with this company for 20 plus years. They want to have that flexibility. And COVID really changed that, or made it more prevalent, I should say, because they could say, all right, I know I'm going to go in IT, but I want to be a freelance IT person. I don't want to be stuck to that individual company. So we are seeing entrepreneurship really grow, but across all programs, because they can turn, these kids, they can turn anything into their own business. And they will. So we actually in Chandler do what's called a career assessment. And we do it in 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, because as we expose them to more careers, their vision can change. And so we give them recommendations of here is a career path that you could look at. But in addition, it helps build our programs, which is why we added digital communication, or I should say we're adding next year digital communication. Also top of our list was healthcare and obviously IT type careers. So we keep that in mind as we are exposing our students to different careers, that there is the career choice they're doing right now, but what are they going to take it the next level? Are they going to go and get the experience as an intern? Are they going to go give a couple of years in a company to then they're going to branch off and start their own company?
Thank you. So from my perspective, the one area that I see that's really taken off is computer programming. It's whenever we're looking for mentors, like computer programmers are always the hardest to find. I had when I was at the University of Florida, I had sophomore and junior students that I worked with who were getting 6-figure offers to leave the university to go work at these tech companies because there's such a huge demand for people who are able to program. And also, because computers are becoming so entwined in all of our lives, it's not even just engineering, but really almost any profession, you need to have some basic level of competency, understanding how computers think and how they work. So I think programming is really important. And then the other thing, with the students that I work with at the high school and the junior high level, I'm not here to try to convince them, oh, you need to become an engineer, right? So we don't really teach them how to be an engineer. What we really teach them is how to be creative problem solvers. Because no matter what field they go into, even if they decide, I want to go into business, I want to become a doctor, I want to do whatever, I'm like, okay, that's great. In those professions, are you going to have to solve problems? And they're like, yeah. Well, this is one way. These are some skills, some tools that you can use that are going to help you no matter what profession you go into. Right, so be able to look at a problem and say, okay, how can I break this down to smaller pieces, right? Because some of these problems are so enormous, right? That require so many different, inputs, so many different perspectives. How can I break that down and start to tackle it one piece at a time, right? How can I think of innovative solutions? How can I make connections between, this industry and this industry, right? So how can I take artificial intelligence and use that to, help the school district, better keep track of which students might need more help than others, or how can we keep track of trends in in medicine, right? To know which communities might need access to different technologies, right? So I think that being able to teach these young students to be able to think creatively, to solve these very difficult problems, I think is really what I'm interested in. I think is what they should focus on too, because then they can take that skill no matter where they go.
I was going to say something else that I also noticed. So as there's this growing popularity for programs like artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, healthcare, I've noticed with the high school students coming in at the college, we did have embedded advisors to help teach them about more career opportunities. I've also seen the shift of adult learners who are coming back to school or who never went to school and are now deciding that that is the right path for them. So I also want to stress the importance of both the youth and these adult learners who are realizing that they too can follow their passion, or that they can change that career and follow these trends and take on these opportunities. I was pretty proud that with the internships that were being built with the city, that I was seeing age groups across the board that were applying.
I can add to that.
Absolutely.
It's really great hearing all the different perspectives. And I think to tie it up, I will bring the technology, bias into the conversation and say that if you think about that, at least in our industry, it's one of the highest GDP is software and technology. And I agree with our panelists that as a computer scientist, finding mentors is very difficult. Also looking at career opportunities, you think of them a certain way, but when you get into the role, they're very drastically different. I was a software engineer. I worked for Microsoft, and what I thought my job would be and what it ended up being was very, very different. And I think I'll tie to what, a couple of things. Technology is the wave of the future, but it has so many different aspects of it. People call it IT, which is you're working in the back end, you're making sure people's computers work, you're building computers, you're using, applications that run on computers, that's computer science, there's engineering there. You're designing algorithms that are computer systems with use artificial intelligence. You're building chips in our factories and our fabs, a whole different kind of engineering, still very engineering, tackling technology. And all of this is leveraged by an ecosystem of businesses, banking, healthcare, industries. Industries are going through a massive revolution now where automation is taking a priority. Healthcare, I think COVID taught us how critical it was to be able to see your doctor, on your computer screen without being there face to face. And that's all, technologies at the back of that, making people's lives better, making that growth happen. So we're seeing a lot of that. There's a huge demand in all those careers. So when people say I'm looking for a career in technology, maybe they think of their uncle who sat in the back with all his computers and nobody ever disturbed him. But it's a very different ecosystem. I think young students today I mentor several of them going from college to from high schools to colleges. They're aware of that. They're aware of the opportunities, and it's great to see all the different opportunities we provide. The other thing is, I love the point about, kids don't want to get tied to one industry or even to one company. I think what's interesting, tying to the point about adult learners, at Intel, we are very, very supportive of our workforce, constantly evaluating where they are today, how they want to grow, what are the different pivots they want to make. There are actually programs put into place that encourage Nitasha to switch from what I'm doing today to something completely different, whether it's getting the education to do it or training at your job or, the opportunity to go make that happen. So I love that we're not just targeting, what high school students and college students need, but also adult learners who are in the workforce today and they're like, hey, I want to go learn artificial intelligence and get an associate degree and have a job, a very high paying job. That I can capitalize on. So I think it's a combination of all those different programs, all those different industries, and really nicely tying in that technology bucket, because it does move the entire universe sort of forward in the right direction for us.
Great answers. So I think the other component we covered today to talk about in our titling is breaking barriers. So talk a little bit briefly up front around how barriers sort of exist, and we have communities that have a lot of potential that aren't being tapped. Traditionally, we've looked at barriers as a student circumstance. Do you have the right support in the home? Have you been given that spark of opportunity? Do you have mentors, resources, et cetera? CTE, focusing earlier, coming in with those programs designed to break down some of those barriers. So kind of from that perspective as educators or even employers, what are some of the barriers that CTE has overcome that you've seen?
So I'm gonna answer that question, but a current barrier that we are having right now is that we have students that are under 18 that are looking for internship opportunities, and many of the companies will not allow us to bring in internships under 18. And guess what? Most of them don't turn 18 until like the end of their senior year. We need help. We need community members. We need businesses that are willing to take students. And remember, in order to be a CTE intern, they have to gone through a program. So they've had 2 years. So we're just not talking any students, these individuals have the technical knowledge to come in and be an intern for you. So I brought pamphlets and we gotta get all the help we can. And I have my business card and I brought my two ladies here to help me answer questions. So that's my plea, my ask, but that's one of the current barrier that we have right now. A barrier that we definitely, I feel that we've broken is that pendulum is switched. Remember, for years, every kid was going to college. I know that in the early, late 90s, early 2000s, every kid was going to college. And it's coming back a little center. And now it's about what is best for that student. What do they want to do in their future? And does that mean they need to go to a higher education? Does that mean they need to go to a technical school? It's finally coming back a little center, and we are encouraging students. If education is a path they needed, I needed a college degree. Many of us need a college degree for the area that we are in, but there are areas that a college degree isn't needed, or maybe they need an associate's degree, or maybe they need a specific technical thing, but we're looking at the individual and what their need is and not trying to shove everyone in one area. And I think we're doing a good job of that.
Thank you.
In higher education, especially in healthcare professions, we noticed and we recognize the why behind it, that admission standards need to be rigorous, right? Because the programs are rigorous. But we also recognize that oftentimes we lose a segment of diversity when we do so. So University of Arizona College of Nursing specifically has identified that as a concern. And we've instituted something called the holistic admission process, similar to what many other universities have done, so that we look at lots of different things, not just GPA. So we're looking for the best or the most well-rounded student who can, we think, will be successful, but also bring things to the community that we serve that perhaps other students could not. So that was a very definitive and very deliberate shift over the last maybe 2.5 years for us. And we've seen great success with it.
I can add one thing, especially for the higher education, is like I'll say we produce the next generation and we teach the students. However, one of the barrier and the huge gap that we have in higher education is finding the teachers, finding the instructors, finding those qualified that they will teach the students into that field. Because our students, they move on and they make their salary, it's high paying salary. But the industry in terms of teaching and mentoring, it's a price that I think that we need to look much harder and encourage the teachers and the faculty to have the salaries so they can teach the next generation. That's why we struggle, especially with artificial intelligence and aviation and engineering, to find the teachers to teach in the classroom, the faculty.
So kind of touched on it a little bit, but the chamber really sits in a great position of bringing these groups together, bringing our educators and our private sector together. How can companies and educators and vice versa better partner? Where kind of are we not partnering that we think we should, and what are some of those enhancements we'd like to see or ways we can improve?
I'm so sorry. So much to say. Well, if you're going to train nurses, you definitely need faculty, and we struggle also with salaries, but you also need clinical placements. So we struggle finding enough clinical placements for our students to ensure that we are meeting the rigors of the necessary hours to graduate nurses who will be competent. So that being said, we are working diligently to establish partnerships with community hospitals in the Valley, and our next ask will be Chandler Regional. We want partnerships, cohorts of students that go through all of their clinical experiences that are possible at one facility. So there is the pipeline for workforce, right? But there are also then guaranteed clinical spots for us, for those students. We can't train when we don't have those clinical spots. So our growth is limited based on that.
I feel I take too much of the microphone. I think it's one that we said it best is the partnership collaboration. And when we started with Intel from artificial intelligence, it was so simple. You sit at the table, industry and higher education, and you look at the gaps, the needs of each one, and you move forward together instead of waiting and say it's going to take 10 years. I heard that from industry. It's going to take 10 years and an act of Congress to put a curriculum through higher education, what is true in some cases. But the true partnership with industry say, this is our need, this is how we're going to collaborate together. And it's that true partnership that we actually, for me, I don't see that as something innovative that we created with Intel and other companies, but with Intel, the AI for workforce and artificial intelligence and the skill-based classes, that it's actually created a national, even a global movement. It's something that it should have been done, and this is how the right way to do it, to partner at this table and be honest, and then that's how we're going to build together.
I will add to that it's a great collaboration because it takes people with opportunities that they're seeking, gives them the education in a very short, meaningful, impactful way without saying this is 4 years of commitment that you need to sign up for at various stages of your life, young adults to people much later in their lives. And then talking about placement, because we all went to college or some form of education in different sectors because we were hoping to build careers out of it, careers that had opportunity today and an opportunity to grow as we moved on. And I think one of the amazing thing about this artificial intelligence program and the Quick Start program is that it's placement into industry to actually get the work done. And I think once you start there, you have the opportunity to expand. Hey, you know what, this was great. I want a master's degree. I want to go get an undergrad degree, or I want an MBA. I mean, I'm somebody who I just got my business degree from Harvard Business School last year and still work in progress, but very late in life, allowing people to make career pivots when they want, but not having to decide. An 18-year-old shouldn't have to decide how they're going to spend the rest of their lives. I'm a part of that generation that was told, you better decide now. Thankfully, though, times change, and I've had lots of pivots along the way, and I think our program allows that people to get that foot in the door of an actual work environment and decide if this is what they want, this is how they want to grow, and then decide what's next, without that commitment for a lifetime, but still being able to grow their career, still having, strong sense of accountability and responsibility. So great program.
So I told you I came prepared because my flyer here says support CT programs and students by, and I give you a whole bunch of different ways where you can come and support us in Chandler Unified School District. Everywhere, everything from being a guest speaker to coming and helping to judge for competitions, practice interviewing skills with students that are getting ready to do interviews so that they kind of take that nervous edge off before they actually go to their interviews. Sponsoring a CTE program. So does that mean that you're coming in and you're being a guest speaker and you're mentoring or you're providing some financial support so that the students can go on field trips to see these in action, or even hosting us if your company is on a field trip and allowing us to see your industry in action? It's a great way to get students excited about your industry. So I'm going to make sure you all get one of these pamphlets before you leave, and you have my contact information.
I'll take a flyer.
Sorry, shameless plug, right? You got to when you got to.
Nothing shameless. Anyone else on this one? All right. So I think we'll wrap with one quick question, because I think we're all very plugged into CT programming, but what does the future of CT programming look like? Where do you see us 5-10 years down the road?
when you look at the sky, that's what is the limit. The CTE is going to evolve so much. But what I wanted to give a word for the higher education that we need to, I always say that community college, they have their innovation in their DNA. We just need to step forward and show that. Because the future of CTE, what we see the companies is now the industry are creating their own school so they can train their own in-house for the CTE. So the future is bright. There's so much, especially from the government, from the grants, the support for the growing the CTE programs, from high schools to middle schools to community college and university. We just need to grab the opportunity and not wait.
I think I'll agree to that and say that the biggest barrier into higher education or technology or CTE is, college. How many women do we lose? How many, underrepresented minorities do we lose that don't get to go to college? And a lot of the programs that we talked about today at a community college level, at trade school level, they're really allowing us to reduce that barrier. And I think that's the future, that anyone who wants to learn a skill have the ability to learn it in their local environments and get placements to solve problems. I mean, technology is about solving problems in different sectors of our life. We can do that, and it's good for the community, it's good for business, and it's very, very productive way for us to make sure we're building these inclusive pathways into the next generation.
So we're educating students right now for careers and jobs that don't even exist, right? So we have to be flexible. We have to change with what is coming. We have to provide them those skills. And if we continue to have legislature and support of our community to continue to allow us to grow and change with what that's happening, then it's going to be beautiful. Like you said, the sky's the limit. It definitely is. Our kids are brilliant. Our kids are eager to learn and they're eager to be successful. And we just have to provide them that pathway and they're going to soar.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll go ahead and open it up to questions from our audience. You can direct them at anyone in the panel or just in general.
Thank you so much, Tyler. My mind is just like going. I can see the synapse, right? Just firing left and right, being a nurse and being an educator myself and also a mentor. So this is amazing. Higher education is definitely where I thrive, where I live, and I believe in it because I can see that for every person on this earth, that is a pathway to take them from one level of income to another, from one level of quality of life to another, and it is amazing. Now, we talk about mentorship. This is a place that I really love to stay in. But there are those that will say that mentorship is only to a certain group of people. They only want to mentor a certain group of people. They don't want to mentor another group. How can we break that barrier in allowing mentorship to be happening in any space, in anywhere, opening it to anybody, specifically in the world of women? And it's hard for women to find good mentors because people are choosy. They don't want to mentor a woman of color. They don't want to mentor a Hispanic woman or these things do happen. And I would like to know how you guys are working in your spheres of influence to break those barriers.
And that's a great point. And what I would like to start, we have in our engineering program and even in IBANA engineering program, we have 2 women faculty and 1 male. So I call them my United Nations because one is from France, one is Black. She, and Nicole, is the most amazing, outgoing, the sweet chair. And she is the most brilliant mentor and does so much for the student that I don't have enough time to say. And then Bassam is from Middle East. All 3, that when you see that program, Chandler Gilbert has the most strong engineering program because all the students there, and we see a growth in women, which is unheard of in engineering, of all backgrounds. And it's amazing when I walk in a classroom, but all 3 faculty, they sit with the students. And when you see them talk with them, I see in the background and just watch how they talk with all the women, the girls in the classroom. and how they mentor them without even considering this is how it's like in a workplace. So I love that model in engineering. In artificial intelligence, how we broke the barrier into it. It's a new field. And again, my background is in IT, but back where I grew up, I went to medical school. So of course the pathway was set for me. And I said, oh my gosh, what I'm going to do, I don't know what else I'm going to do when I grow up. But I had great mentors going into the IT field. Sadly, I never had any women mentors. They're all male mentors in the IT. Every time I heard that IT is not for women, you don't belong here. So I wanted to change that when I transitioned to higher education. I wanted to make that change and say, everybody, if that's your passion, you have to instill the passion into everybody. Doesn't matter when woman, men in the background. But AI, what we built it, when I said the mentorship from industry, we have employee from Intel sitting with the faculty, which our faculty Habib is also from Middle East. He's born here, but he's an amazing faculty, young man that worked for Intel, and we grab him. Sorry. But the mentorship program for the oh, I'll give you my card. Welcome anytime. But with that, what you see, especially with the girls, we have the Hermana programs this weekend. It's what can you do? What is your capacity? What are your access to resources? For me, it's very strong to give those students, regardless, like what is your access? How can you access that to reach to that point? And life happens. It's not everybody has in a household, for example, that's educators or engineers or just name it. It's how I'm going to inspire that kid so it can go to where they want it to be. And I've seen that because I come from a culture that it was military. So for me, inspiration, and I never had a mentor woman, that's powerful. So that's what we created Chandler Gilbert.
Thank you. Such a great topic. It's like, mentorship. You can dedicate a whole session to it. As a matter of fact, anyone looking for a mentor or need to talk about mentorship, I'm your person. I think, I've been in the industry 20 years, and, through high school, college, mentorship played such a critical role in places where I had mentors and places where I realized I don't have mentors. And I think we've all been there where we wish there was someone who was mentoring us, because there is a better path. There's a better way to do this. And I think that's what we need to do, especially for women, URMs, the communities are different. The opportunities they think they have are different. I think today using, the web, there is a way for you to, you don't have to be limited into a classroom of mentors that you can bring in. Your mentors can be worldwide anywhere. You're looking for computer science mentors. There's millions of computer scientists. The problem is not that they don't want to mentor. The problem is they don't know where to go and who to mentor. So I think the biggest gap today is that we're not capitalizing and we're not providing the next generation opportunities of mentorship that are easy to access. And that is probably one of the biggest things that we need to do as a team. And I think the mentorship is different for different parts of your career. When you're in high school, you're looking for peer mentors or influencers. You're looking for those mentors that are in college, that are successful, that are going down a path you want. Teachers, professors. When you start your career, you're looking for mentors that are managers that can help guide you to the next step. Hey, you did this amazing program. You're doing really good. Let's give you more opportunities. Here's what you can do. And I think that's what a mentor is. It helps you grow and sees your path forward. But then you get to a place where there's sponsorship. Because later on in your career, you need people speaking for you in rooms where you are not. And that's very important. I will say the very with a capital V for women and minorities. Because decisions are made in rooms that a lot of women are not in, URMs are not. It has nothing to do with skill. It doesn't have anything to do with their abilities, but that's what we need sponsors. So I'm at a part in my career where I get offers, hey, I'd like to mentor you and guide you. And I'm like, there's a spot for a sponsor open. Are you willing to take that spot? Because it's a two-way street. I'm very clear about what I need from my mentor. I need my mentor to help do X. And I think it's something we need to teach the younger, younger generation is that it's a two-way street. You have to have that uncomfortable conversation with your mentors, your sponsors, and be very clear on what you need. Hey, I need you to help me understand how the industry works and help me get a placement. And it's a process, we'll work together on it. Even like when I mentor, adults who've been in the industry for 15, 20 years, and I'll mentor them and say, you can do this. Ask me the question. Ask me, what do you want from this mentorship? And I think it's so hard. I'd like to see how I can work in this team. Oh, great. Awesome. You want to make a pivot. Now I know what you want from this mentorship, from this relationship versus, how's the weather conversation. So mentorship is this amazingly powerful tool. And people who mentor or people who are looking for mentors need to realize it's a two-way street, and mentors can only help you if you're very straightforward about what is it that you need from that relationship.
I'm sorry, just very quickly. Students don't always know that they need a mentor, right? So as just frontline, the faculty and the teachers role model the type of behavior that you hope that your students will emulate, including that ability to be inclusive. And then they can carry that forward into mentorship.
Thank you. I want to give a special thank you to all of our panelists for being here today and taking time out of your schedule. For sharing with us a little bit about education, as well as what your companies are doing to make those programs available to students and train our future employees. Any further questions that you might have today can be directed to the chamber team. And I want to thank again Dr. Gilbert, as well as our moderator, Tyler. And thank you to all of our elected officials for being here today. And we especially appreciate our sponsors, Intel, ASU, SRP, Wells Fargo, Toyota Financial Services, Nova Home Loans, and Comfort Systems USA. And I also want to let you all know that on Friday, we have our Policy Impact Series. Join us to hear about updates on the budget. And our next Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion panel will be on March 28th. Featuring the topic of cracking the code on gender equality. And thank you all for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you again on Friday.